BG3 just had another new hotfix, except this time it was a little bit bumpy. I'll go over the details with that. We also had PC Gamer drop the review score and Sven even reacted to it. We also have some few issues and concerns. We got a lot to talk about. What's up, World Trooper? Back in video number 2, checking out all things BG3. Okay, so first up, let's just jump into the hotfix, and then we'll get into all the mess and jazz that's been happening over the last 12 to 24 hours. So essentially, yesterday we did have hotfix 4 deployed. This was much later into the afternoon, around 4 p.m. However, there was a bunch of stuff going on with that. So essentially, they deployed the hotfix, and it was out for about 3 to 4 hours. However, after the build was out, after the hotfix came out, they end up having to roll back down to hotfix 3. And the reason why is there was a ton of build errors that were causing new crashes and other things. And so what ended up happening with that was that people that were on hotfix 4 that decided to play, those saves could no longer be accessed until hotfix 4 was redeployed. So if you played in those 3 to 4 hours that hotfix 4 was out, your saves couldn't be played once they rolled back to hotfix 3. A lot of people were waiting around 12 hours to continue playing their saves, as they had made that 3 to 4 hours of progress and didn't want to continue without that. Now, I will say from my perspective, if you have a lot of game time and you have a lot of time to play, and if I had made that video yesterday or made an updated video yesterday, I probably would have recommended just go play, because they're probably not going to have a new hotfix out in time, or at least when you think. And yeah, realistically, you could have got your 2 to 3 hours that you got back and played a ton more, as it took them about 12 hours to release this redeploy. However, it's totally understandable. If you made a ton of progress and you don't want to redo it, I completely understand that. But yeah, at least hotfix 4 is now redeployed. It's now back out there, so anybody that made a save yesterday that wasn't able to access those saves, you can now access them with the hotfix 4. Now, hotfix 4 was decent. It's not insanely massive as some of our other hotfixes. However, they are working on that patch 1, a larger update of over 1,000 fixes, followed by patch 2. They did drop that roadmap that I covered in my last video. However, there isn't any conclusion on any dates or any timelines for that. Now again, we did have some crash fixes and progression blockers. Also, thankfully, they did block out a lot of the spoiler stuff here, so I don't have to go through that too much. They fixed players getting stuck on mid to long rest due to companions not waking up, which is actually kind of funny overall. There was an issue of not being able to long rest in certain areas, causing things to disappear. They also fixed some issues with some scripting and some other locale stuff that wasn't actually doing exactly what it should be doing. There was also some multiplayer fixes, and a big one was that characters were disappearing when disconnecting and reconnecting in split screen. They added a warning for hosts in multiplayer when the clients join through a drop-in during character customization or character creation. The host must now grant approval before new players can join. And they also fixed the visibility of multiplayer servers on GOG. Now, there was some combat fixes as well, and they fixed a specific companion's health pool. Apparently, they were just not strong enough for certain scenarios. I will say on Tactician mode, it is incredibly hard with saving certain NPCs. It's a lot of RNG with that there and getting the right character placements, which I do like for the tactility of it. However, it is kind of unfortunate when they randomly attack a certain NPC that's not close. Yeah, that part is not fun, and having to reload saves there and do all that stuff is just a little bit of annoying. However, that's mostly just due to me playing on Tactician mode. There were some other combat bugs that were correlating to specific areas. There was also an ability adding infinite additional psychic damage to attacks, which yeah, that seems kind of game breaking. There was also some flow and scripting fixes. However, this is nowhere near the last hotfixes. And yeah, I mean, they pretty much fixed everything with all the scripting and the flowing, at least from what is being brought up. There was some soft block stuff there that wasn't allowing players to continue. There was also issues that a certain ally would go down and they were considered completely gone. Certain player resources weren't being correctly restored after a certain scenario. And the coolest thing about this is they actually fixed the thing for mods or people that were using cheated saves. So essentially, people were modding their player characters to above a level 12, and they weren't able to access certain areas if they had a modded character level. However, Larian fixed this, and now players with modded or cheated saves can access any area with any character level, which is really cool to see that they're fixing stuff for modded player characters. Now, as my first playthrough, I am not using any mods, even the ones for necromancy, which I really would like to use, but I just feel like it takes away from the spirit of the game. So I am going through a pure playthrough. However, when I'm done with this game in a day or so, or at least finished up with the campaign, I am going to mod it, and I'm going to drop a mod video as well, like a top 10 mod guide, as I did this with Hogwarts Legacy. And back in the day, I actually had another channel with a buddy, and one of the first videos I ever made with him on that channel was a top 10 Skyrim mods video. And so yeah, that's kind of like where my origin is, almost, essentially. So I would love to do a mod video and talk about some of the mod stuff that's going on with BG3. I'll definitely get into some of that stuff in the next coming days, especially if you guys are excited for it. Let me know down below. Also, quickly readdressing the hotfix 4, we did have a tweet here from Larian Studios that said, "We'd like to thank everyone for their patience as we worked on what went wrong this time. You're the best. As a reminder, the PlayStation 5 and Mac versions of BG3 will feature all of the tweaks and improvements that have come to PC. So all the stuff that's being fixed right now will be in the PS5 version and the Mac release." Really good to hear. It was kind of like a bit of an assumption there, but it is nice to hear that we are getting those hotfixes and updates for when it comes to PS3 and Xbox in the future. Now, we had a massive article from PC Gamer, and sometimes I don't agree with their reviews, and sometimes I don't agree with what they have to say. However, most of the time they are pretty spot on with things, and they do get some stuff right. The only example that I can think that I have a disagreement with is the Dead Island 2 review, which I think that game did really well, and they rated it really low, unfortunately, and I just don't agree with the rating there. However, this time around, I do think they got it right. PC Gamer reviews BG3 with a 97. This is the highest score they've given in 16 years. And the person that reviewed this game has 160 hours on the game, which is actually more than I have. My save currently is 90 hours. However, I think Steam says somewhere around 200 hours for me. Most of that is AFK hours. About 40 hours of that is also from early access. So 160 hours is absolutely insane to put in, and the fact that they covered everything shows that this game actually does deserve that high rating, especially when it's one of the highest ratings they've given in over 16 years. Now, the CEO Sven actually did reply to this, and he said on Twitter, "So proud of my team. None of us could believe this is really happening, but the greatest thing about all of this is that we can continue to make games like this. Yes, they are risky and ambitious, and stuff sometimes goes wrong, but it's what the studio was created for. BG3's reception shows there is room for this type of game. I hope we get many more like it." I definitely agree. I hope we get a lot more CRPGs. I also hope we get RPGs that kind of follow in this route. I had a commenter that asked about this, saying that AAA studios shouldn't be able to achieve this, or this is like a really rare occurrence. And that's not really the case. It's just that companies refuse to put in the effort that requires this stuff. And I think overall people just want the quality of what this product offers, not the quantity. Of course, people do want the quantity of what BG3 offers, but if companies can just give us the quality of what BG3 offers, I think most of us would be pretty happy, which most of them are currently not doing that. Most of them are just copy pasting for previous iterations or just not putting any effort at all. And it goes to show with recent releases, there are a few that you could definitely go over that definitely just have a checkbox. And they meet that checkbox and that's it. They don't go outside the box or do anything else. Whereas you can really tell with BG3, they are very, very passionate. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I do hope that gaming kind of returns to that golden era standard that we had from 2005 to like 2009. Now, one of the issues that I've had with BG3, it is very, very minor, but I do agree with this post here. It has a lot of upvotes as well. And they said here, "So tired of cutscenes triggering on the nearest ally instead of the player character." And yeah, I've had it happen quite often. There's been a few times even when there's like a little section where an NPC can only see with lines. Because the way that the shadows work and the rocks are in the way, the NPC only sees the lines, and the way I was able to tell that was by stealthing. And so I had to perfectly align my player character on one of those visual lines in order for it not to interact with one of my other characters. So yeah, I do hope that we can get some sort of main character choice, or like it's an option that we can select to only initiate with the main character or the player character, as cutscenes triggering at the end of combat and things are really, really frustrating, especially when you've gone through this entire fight, and especially on tactician mode when fights last really long for me. Now, like other commenters here said, they did save or quick save right before they kind of finished the fight or the combat scenario, and yeah, that was definitely something that I've been doing fairly recently. However, I would like this to either be eventually fixed or maybe there's some solution in there for that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on everything there. That should about cover for today's video. If you like it, and subscribe, and until the next one, deuces.